This year for Dust Hustle, we thought that we should step it up a little bit and completely build a bike from scratch. So this is my little dirt fox, I guess. As far as the bike went, it was just a few ideas scribbled down on paper, which I'm not going to show you. There's a lot of rude doodling in there as well. So we came up with a basic frame idea, found a motor. From the motor, we had the dimensions, we could figure out the frame dimensions, and then we went from there. The wheels are an industrial wheel, which I sourced off the internet. The engine is out of a cement mixer, 5 horsepower. I had to get a clutch that suited the sprocket at the back and fitted the shaft of the motor, so that was a special order item. And other than that, it was a few cables, a couple of cheap, brake lever and a throttle assembly, and then it was just a bit of test piloting. So, and yeah, when you open the taps, it pulls along. It's a bit of fun. It's cheap fun. It's poking fun at ourselves, but it's kind of displaying what we do a little bit, but it's more fun than anything, I guess. On the day, we're just going to smoke people left, right and centre.
Like any sort of riding and racing, I'm just going out for a quiet ride. I'm not going to go fast. I don't want to rip my new jumper. Then you think, hang on, I can catch that guy.
You always tell yourself not to go silly, but you can't help yourself. You get out there, and when the gate drops or the flag drops or whatever the case may be, everything changes. Your common sense seems to go out the window sometimes.
I guess we started the Dust Hustle. We used to run a few other events here, rides and parties and whatnot. So we sort of, had a few ideas, and we saw that there was some friends of ours at Sideburn magazine in the UK. We're doing an event called Dirtquake, and it was a really cool idea. So we sort of took that principle and sort of applied a few other things to it and decided to run one. And yeah, we just were astounded with how popular it was, how many people wanted to basically do stupid things on a dirt track with us, which was nice. Sort of started in 2014, and this has grown substantially year on year from there. Now this will be our 3rd year running the event. Ellaspede started about 6 or 7 years ago. Steve and Leo, who are the founders, basically had an industrial design company beforehand and still do. Yeah, started designing a few bikes and built the first 2. And the first 2 bikes got picked up in an art gallery, and then once a few people saw them, they sort of started asking about getting their own builds done and that kind of thing. And it sort of rolled on through a little bit of a garage operation for a few years, and then about 4 years ago we made the move to a full-time space here in West End in Brisbane.
My bike's a Honda CB250. It's an old 1982 model, and it's famous for being pretty slow and heavy. So what I've done is tried to build it up like a American-style street tracker. In the theme of Dust Hustle, I've tried to do as much dumb shit to it as possible. The first one being is a pull start. I've got a lot of talk to back off on that because I've been telling everyone it's engineered with a torque multiplier and reduction gear, so even a toddler could pull it, but really all it is just a micro switch wired to the starter motor, so it's pretty basic.
Yeah, last year's Dust Hustle I rode an RZ250, which I'd bought out to a 400. It's my street bike. I just put some dirt tyres on it and wore a white chemical suit, went out there and did some laps and had some fun. This year I don't have the RZ, I'm still rebuilding that at the moment, so I'm riding my race bike, but it doesn't really fit the idea of Dust Hustle, so I've just made it look a bit more post-apocalyptic and a bit crappy. So I thought, what is the quickest and easiest way to make it not look so good? So a bit of cardboard and some conduit, took all the plastics off it, and hopefully it sort of fits the day.
I've been doing dirt bikes for far too long. I was doing them when I was a kid, and now I'm a lot older, and I'm racing at, or riding I should say, at the Dust Hustle on Saturday, and I was hoping to race my 69 CZ that I'm still waiting for spare parts for. We're halfway through it, but we just run out of time getting spare parts. So we're going to be riding the 74 CR125 that I had last year. Just waiting for the wheels to come back on that. We're looking forward to getting there tomorrow. It'll be fun.
In the Dust Hustle, I'm going to be riding my 1974 XS 650 Yamaha. It's basically a old converted road bike, which I've sort of made into a bit of a scrambler / desert sled. I grew up riding dirt bikes, so you know, it was sort of natural progression for me to start riding an old road bike on the dirt again. I probably have had the bike for about 6 or 7 years now, I'd say. It has been on the road for the last 3 years, so it was quite a while before it was actually on the road. It ended up being a back to bare frame rebuild. Yeah, I did most of it myself, I think, which is a good thing about some old bikes. But I think with any custom bike, it's never really finished. It just continues to evolve as I want to do different things with it, and I continue to fix it as I continue to crash it.
My dad raced sidecars and always rode motorbikes, so it came from there, I guess. Always rode friends' dirt bikes and things whenever we could get the chance, and then when I was 12 I started racing sidecars on the flat track and was absolutely hooked. I love the racing, love getting sideways, and it's just a feeling you can't get anywhere else. When I was racing sidecars at a club day at North Brisbane, I had quite a big crash, and on the sidecars the crashes can get pretty spectacular and the passengers usually wear the worst of it. My brother was on the side at the time and he ended up with a wrist injury, I think, and he couldn't keep racing for the day. So I wandered around the pits and was asking around and seeing if anyone wanted to jump on the side for the last couple of races, and most people saw the crash and they were all shaking their heads, no way, I'm not having a go. Met a guy called Steve.
Met Lance at a club day at North Brisbane, would have been 1998, we're both juniors. He asked me if I had any experience swinging on a sidecar, and I said no, I'd happy to have a go. So jumped on that and pretty much been mates with him ever since.
Steve and I will both be riding in the day, but we'll be in different classes, and yet again we've never been raced at the same time on different bikes, so yet again it'll be another year gone by where we won't know who's faster. But I think he's 20 seconds a lap quicker on a 40-second lap track than me. The past 9 months or so, always been sending messages and phone calls. Like every time I think of something stupid to do to my bike, I'm like, hey Steve, check this out.
Yeah, as part of the rest of my costume, I've done this to my elbow, just a bit more conduit, make it look like some oxygen hose and a gas bottle to sit on my back. Thought it'd look pretty funny, especially when it's got nitrous oxide written on it.
Steve's great with tools and fixing things. You put a spatter in his hand and he can work wonders, but you should just watch him try and change a tyre.
After last year's Dust Hustle, Lance decided to get another bike, and he's spent the last year working on the bike. A few weeks ago he broke his toe socket in his right foot playing indoor soccer, and it didn't look like he was going to be able to ride for the Dust Hustle this year.
Unfortunately, 3 weeks ago I broke my foot playing indoor soccer. It was didn't think I was going to make it, but it's healing up real well, and hopefully should get out there and, you know, get away from the dangerous sport of soccer and go ride motorbikes on a dirt track instead.
You always tell yourself not to go silly, but you can't help yourself. You get out there, and when the gate drops or the flag drops or whatever the case may be, everything changes. And common sense seems to go out the window sometimes.
So we're just under 2 weeks to go now to the event, and this year we're sort of building on what we've done in the last few years. The last few years we sort of focused on getting what was happening on the track right, or wrong, I guess, in terms of people doing stupid things. And then this year we want to make the event a bit more holistic, so there's more for the spectators to see and do. They can watch Muppets go around the track, and then there's some really great food there. We're hoping to have about 2,000 people this year if the weather's good, touch wood. Last year we had 1,500, and it just seems to be continually growing year on year, so we're really stoked with the support that the event gets. So this year we're running a voting poll for everyone, whether they're riding or spectating, to come and vote on actually what tracks they want to see on the day. The first is the Peanut, which is the pretty standard flat track layout with using most of the main oval and then having the back dog leg. The second track we've got is the chicken drumstick because it looks like a chicken drumstick. The third track that we've got is the big old backside and the one that I've voted for, so might have to see if we can make that happen. The fourth track we've got here is the beer bottle. Only 2 people have voted for this one. I assume they're probably both alcoholics. It's got a really tight off-camber turn-in, so we probably would have to get another set of medics if we went with that track, so I'm glad that no one's voting for it at the moment. It'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Yes, so there's a testicle dents on this one here. These are knee dents and no big deal. But we did have one poor unfortunate fellow who did crush them and had to have one removed because it was so badly damaged. Is that going beyond the call of duty? Yes, that's a serious man, isn't it, who crushes his testicles on the tank and still keeps riding the year later? Yeah, I'll be thinking about it twice before I went and did it. When I was 16, I had British motorbikes, Greaves, off-road bikes, and I looked at those and thought that's good fun for it because I'm a mechanic by trade. I might have a go at these dirt bikes. We had bikes back then and we had to keep a job going and ride the bike to work and try and keep it and race trim, but that was hard when you're on apprenticeship wages. So it was very hard to have a competitive bike because bikes were quite expensive back then. And then family, mortgage and that, children, put it to one side, and then nearly 30 years ago we got back into vintage motocross. Found all our old bikes weren't worth a lot of money back then. $500 would buy you a dead one that you could use. And nowadays, those vintage motorbikes are getting very, very expensive. I'm not sure if they're value or not, but they're starting to get expensive as well. Hopefully, when I die, that someone won't come and sell them for what I told the wife I paid for them, because they're worth a hell of a lot more. Well, I think they are. We'll soon find that out when I pass on. The guy who told me about the Dust Hustle, he said, you should come and do that, the Dust Hustle. I said, what's that all about? So we got an entry into it, and like any sort of riding and racing, I'm just going out for a quiet ride. I'm not going to go fast. I don't want to rip my new jumper. Then you think, hang on, I can catch that guy, that old bastard on the XL 500. I'll catch him next corner. I'm gaining on him. Look out, I'm going to get him soon. And that's when you enjoy it. And then you think, whoops, slow down, big fella. You're going down soon. Look out for it. An old fella told me, said, whenever you go riding, said, you don't have to pass him in the first lap. You don't have to in the first corner. You've only got to beat him by an inch at the finish line, and that's what it's all about, whether it's a trophy for it or just some bragging rights and some bullshit in the pits. That's a good thing about it. Dust Hustle's going to be good for that. If you worry about crashing, golf's your place. That's what you need to be. Never worry about crashing. It's only a bit of skin missing, and scars are tattoos. They've got a real story behind them, you see.
So custom bike culture in Australia, I think it's sort of really moved from a bit of a subculture to popular culture in the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, I guess. It's something now that I think a lot of custom motorcycle brands exist, and it's not something, you know, that is a real fad. It's sort of like skateboarding and surfing has been. It's something that's sort of gone into popular culture now that'll never really disappear. And a lot of people, I guess, really identify with that. You know, guys like myself who sort of probably grew up riding BMX instead of skating or surfing, they've got something to identify with now. And yeah, I think it's just going to keep sort of pushing forward because there's a whole generation of people that realise, you know, they did grow up riding bikes or they grew up doing something else and now they're sort of into bikes and they sort of really like that aesthetic as opposed to a different one.
I've got 2 young kids now, even they're showing an interest in bikes already. I've got a mortgage to pay off, so I don't think I'll be racing anytime soon, I guess. Events like practice days and especially this Dust Hustle event from Ellaspede is just perfect for me. It's laid back and fun. You just go out on the track and ride.
That's why I'm allowed to do this. It means I can't afford a girlfriend. So this is a good thing. My wife doesn't mind me having dirt bikes. She knows if I've ever disappeared somewhere and come home late at night, I'm not smelling of lipstick, I'm smelling of oil. Yeah, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I think for, you know, Dust Hustle has been popular just because it's literally the adult version of a lot of kids riding bikes together, you know. I think that's what people identify with for Dust Hustle because it's that opportunity as adults to do that again, to sort of hark back to that sort of feeling, that emotion of you know, the simple times of riding when you were kids. I think that's why it's so popular in such a short time, because it's the event for the rest of the motorcycle enthusiasts.